And then I'm sitting down with this beer. These two take their dresses off. When they take their dresses off, the tits come off as well. They're lady boys. I'm like, ah! No. Because the last thing I wanted was a proper spit roasting. He says, right, I have to inform you, you're going to have to insert a digit into your anus. At this point, I lost it. Reeled it in. I've looked, I thought, that's a big fish. It was a 40-pound mirror. So I've had 3 40s in 5 nights, and it was all about timing.
Well, nice to see you again, mate. I'm trying to think the last time that we saw each other. It's got to be down at the Trent, hasn't it?
Colin and Weir with Adrian, Dean Macy, and the Twonk. Sorry, Lawrence King, who is a Twonk.
There really is a loving relationship between you two, isn't there? Every time I see it, any time I see a post between you two, it's basically just abuse.
We're flying the flag to continuously abuse each other because the rest of the world is all upset and crying and their feelings are hurt. We don't have feelings.
No, fair
Make it
play to
easy.
you, mate. It's the cornerstone of the great British English friendship between two good mates, and I think it's overlooked. Anyway, so I do want to catch up on your fishing because I know you've been having a few good results recently. But the main
Yep.
reason I'm talking to you today, you've got a new book out.
We have Carp Mad 5, the final part of the trilogy.
And it is going to be the last one.
Yeah, the stupidity is over. I hope. I don't want any more stories, believe me.
Explain this to me. It's a trilogy, and there's 5. It's 135. That's not by coincidence, or that's got to be. It's not a printing error.
No, it isn't. So the story behind that, and it has cost me a lot of messaging and a lot of emails. When we did the first book, Carp Mad, we're getting to the end and we're just messing about. And I said, hey, should we do 2 books for the price of one and do a free one in the back? And he's like, yeah, let's do that. That'll be funny. So we redid the cover, put a 2 on it, and made a technical book. That technical book consisted of 6 pictures: picture of bait, picture of a hook, sharp one, picture of a fish jumping out, I think a bent rod, carrying a fish, holding it up for a photo. And that's all you need to know about fishing. So and we did that. We chucked it out and said, there you go. Value for money, 2 books for the price of one. Never imagined I'd do another book. And that was just going to be it. Roll the clock on a few years. There's another book. Someone said, what are you going to call it? I said, well, we've already cracked the joke in the first one. This is actually book 3. The second one is book 3. So we're like, okay, let's go for that then. So the second book was Carp Mad 3. When we got to the end of Carp Mad 3, I said, should we do it again? Should we do Carp Mad 4, free of charge in the back of 3? Okay, so we did another technical book, all the rigs you need to know. You turned it over, there was 2 pictures. One was a pop-up, one was a bottom bait, and that was all you needed to know about rigs. So when that came out, I'm getting email after email. Can't find 2 anywhere, mate. Where's 2? Have you got the first book? Yes, I have. Have a look in the back. Oh, yeah. So that was why we called this one Carp Mad 5, the final part of the trilogy, to hopefully avoid people saying, can't find 4, mate. But it's happened already.
Right.
The book's only 2 months old and it's happened already. So there's 3 of them, and that's why that is that way.
Right. I've got you. So, spoiler alert, is there a part 6 in part 5?
No.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it's the final line says, or the final paragraph, thanks for coming with me. My story ends here. And I'm pleased I don't have to write another word with 3 books and a shed load of articles that I've written over the years. That's over 500,000 words typed. I'm done. Probably why I struggle answering messages these days. I'm just sick of it. I'm being busy at work.
You can't keep a good man down. We'll see. Let's just talk about. I know it was a bit of a piss take. You put in the technical pieces in the back. How much do you actually subscribe to that theory of you need 2 rigs? And because there's a billion words in carp fishing about this rig, that rig. Put a shot on it. Shot's a bit too heavy. Put a tiny shot. Do you know what I mean? Just the endless fannying about. I'm really old school in the way that I fish. I've got 3 basic rigs in my armory, and that's all I use. How much were you fucking around when you did that? Do you actually dick around with your rigs, or are you?
I tend not to change my rigs. If there's not weed about, whatever, I'll just put a wafter on. If it's weedy, I put a Ronnie on, put the bead back, fish in the weed. I don't mind a zig. And recently I've come across the multi-rig, and if I was fishing a really pressured water, I'd probably go inline lead in a multi-rig. But I tend not to change them. It's sort of more important, A, getting your ass there, and B, finding the fish, isn't it? But just, a slow sinking wafter on normal, but maybe even a little bit of silt, stick it in there. If it's weedy, the no pub water that I'm fishing's got, quite a bit of silkweed, and you're casting out, you're not getting a drop on the lead. You're just fishing a Ronnie, pop up on top of the weed, pull the bead up the leader, let it sink. So I tend not to change rigs. There's all these multi-fandango rigs, but it's a load of bollocks in my opinion.
Yeah, but even saying that, everything you just said is technical. Do you know what I mean? You've got to have a deep understanding of rig mechanics and fishing and where to apply it.
Yeah, I think so.
To even get to that.
I mean, most of my fish were just caught on a mono hook link and a knotless knot. Yeah. And then when I tied the knot, 15 pound, I'd pull it hard and it kinked the mono, set the hook off. And that's all I ever used, really, until I fished bunks and we were fishing in kelpweed, which is really savage, and it just ripped the mono to pieces on the take. I had to start using braid. Braids are a pain in the arse. And then I sort of went on to Ronnies and stuff like that. But I don't change my rigs much. I think you can get lost in a whole world of confusion. And the more different things you try, and it hasn't gone off, or that doesn't work, or this doesn't work. Just stick to what you know.
And I've been guilty of that. I've spent so much time. You stop catching fish and like, well, it's a rig, and you start to dick around with everything, and you fall down a rabbit hole because you're still not catching. And actually, you go back to first principles, find the fish, feed them right, put a rig in front of them that works. You catch fish. It's not complicated. Yeah. So your books, I'm not going to say don't feature a lot of fishing, because they do. They're all centered around fishing. But the reason I think I've got through your books is because of it tells the story of your life outside. And I think that's kind of unique in that most fishing books is I went there, I caught this fish. And that's very interesting, but you can only hear about circuit waters so many times.
Exactly. And the thing is, if you want to buy a book on all the big uns in England and whatever, you got Laney, you got Herney, you got Darryl Peck, you got all them sort of people, Mickey Gray. If you want to hear some funny stories and the stories of lives up and downs, good times, but there's a lot of fishing in them and a lot of fishing stories, of course. But there's also the other stuff that went on in my life and my friends' lives around it that, make people laugh. And we've tried to pick the funny ones and the crazy ones, because I just seem to be one of them people that stuff happens to me that doesn't happen to anybody else. And I can't tell you why. I wished it didn't happen, but it does. Classic example. I was fishing out of the Quay in 97. I was standing there with the owner, Todd, just having a roll up. I used to smoke then. And the wind was coming down to our right, and we're just standing there having a lovely time. We see this thing pulsing through the air. Looked like a sort of, I don't know what it was, like a flying black tarantula jellyfish. We're like, what the fuck's that? We're looking at it, and it got closer and closer. And it landed on my head with an audible thud. I've gone, knocked it off me and absolutely splattercated it on the floor. Tom's bent over crying with laughter. And I'm like, what the fuck was that? What was that? Well, he said, I don't know what it was. He said, you've just killed a one-off of an alien species. We don't know what it was. Still don't know what it is to this day. But it was seen to pulse through the air. If anyone is out there, and you speak to Tom about it, it just went and just covered half my head. We don't even know what it is now. And that's the story of my life. Things happen to me that don't seem to happen to anybody else. They're funny, they're sad, they're whatever. And we wanted the books to tell a story. We don't want, I'm not a Terry Hearn, a Dave Lane, or a Pecky. But the other side of the coin is they're not a Spug. They couldn't write the books that I write. They've got more sense and they're better anglers. I'm an okay angler that just kept going, having a go at them. Didn't catch them through skill, caught them through bloody mindedness. And like, now I'm going. I've done over 1,000 nights fishing in my life, alongside working Monday to Friday, often long hours. And that's all my holiday, quitting a job now and again, borrowing some money, going for a fish for 6 months or whatever. It's just pure bloody mindedness and never giving up. Just keep trying.
I think
not skill. I'm
that's
not
the thing
mobile.
that's well that let's deal with that first of all. You turn up to a lake, and are you thinking, I'll fish for what's in front of me, I'll get on the fish, I'll move on a new wind? Are you turning up and putting your bivvy up, sitting down with a bottle of wine and giving yourself an 80% chance? Because I know what kind of angler I am. And I've sat and watched fish before crash on the other side of the lake, but I'm 3 cans in. And it's a nice summer's evening. I'm at work the next day, and I'm like, a better angler would move. A better angler now would pack all the stuff up and they'd go over there. But
Yeah, I've
you know
never.
what I
I mean,
mean?
if I'm on a week's holiday, I might move. But if I'm there for 48 hours, I won't go for less because I can't be asked. I don't go that much. So when I got the Wendy house up and the iPod on and Netflix ready to go, it's all about wine and the barbecue. Not getting drunk. Don't do that so much these days, although I did in the past. But I'll try and get a swim. If you're on a circuit water, holding as much water in front of me, as much of the lake as I can, and just make the most of it. If I catch, I catch. If I don't, I don't. Sometimes it will. I know if I was more mobile, I catch more fish. You've only got to watch Dave Lane's Patreon page to see how much he moves about. And I fished with Dave on Conningbrook years ago. And, we used to order the Indian. They'd be here at 7 o'clock. Where's Laney? Well, I saw him in Ghosties. Well, I saw him in Long Lawn. Well, I saw him in Joe's. And in the end, we used to say, food will be here at 7. If you're not here at 7, you ain't got no food, mate. Because we didn't know where he was. But I didn't, there was one week I did a couple of nights here, a couple of nights there, and I did find the fish. But invariably, I go fishing for a hobby. It's not a job. I want to relax, chill out, fart, sleep, and just generally have a nice time. So yeah, I'm not that mad for catching them. It's about just getting away from work and all the stresses of life, isn't it? So
Yeah.
yeah,
No, I
find a
mean,
swim, hold as much water as you can, make the most of it, and if you get lucky, you get lucky.
and I think it's important to have that level of perspective on it as well. A lot of people will probably tell themselves it's not that they're better anglers, but they'll go and they'll say, "Well, I've tried my best, and I've done this, and I've done that," and actually they ought to have a bit of self realization that they could have perhaps done a bit better. Do you know what I mean? They're not. People like Dave Lane are very special because they are hyper focused and they'll wear shoes out because they're walking around that much. And I see a lot of anglers who go and they bivvy up and they sit there a weekend and don't catch, but they'll try and tell you they're the best angler in the world, and you're like, "No, you just be honest about it. There's nothing wrong. I am a lazy angler. I'll put myself in the best possible situation, and I'll do the best I possibly can. But I'm under no illusions that I'm, hyperactive and running around the lake and I'm there at catch at all costs. I'm there because I've got a few hours in between working and I want to try and catch a fish. If I catch one, great, but I'm not going to kill myself if I don't catch one. Let's have a talk about the book. I don't want to get into too much detail because there's people obviously paying for the book, and you want to leave some surprises in there. But I've heard rumours about you travelling the length of Thailand to shag a midget, and fucking Can you talk about that? Am I allowed to talk about that?
Okay, so this story is in the book, is in the new book, and I'll talk. Reason I won't give too much of the other stories away because there's some other crazy ones in there. But this story was out on social media at the time, so it's already out there. But I've detailed it in the book, and it all started as a joke, and it sort of went a bit wrong. So we're out in Thailand working at Gillam's, and a couple of lads turned up. Wayne Shepherd and Robert Bell, two match fishermen from Peterborough. We're all standing there. Now, obviously, in Thailand, you can get up to no good any day of the week at any time. And I went out there single, and I fully intended and did get amongst as much as I could. So these lads were out. We're all standing in the swim talking, and one of them said, "Is there anything on your bucket list that you haven't done? You know, you're out here, you can do whatever you want, 2 at a time, 3 at a time, whatever. Is there anything you haven't done?" And I just stood there and I went, "A midget." And everybody laughed. Everybody laughed. And I said, "It's got to be fun, isn't it? You know what I mean? Standing up." So we did. It was a joke, and I never really cared if I did it or not, or whatever. So we just laughed. Anyway, they finished off their holiday, and they booked to go up to Chiang Mai in the north of the country, where the Golden Triangle is, the White Temple, the zoo, the long necks, all that stuff. So they've left us, and they're coming back a couple of weeks later because they're in Thailand for a month. So they've gone off to Chiang Mai, and, you know, in this day and age, you all add each other on Facebook, don't you? So we get a message. "You're not going to believe this. We've just been on the piss in Chiang Mai, and we found a bar called Small World where there's a male midget and a female midget working in the bar." So we had the best night ever with them. It's proper funny. The midgets were on the bar dancing, and we gave the little male midget 500 baht, which I think is a tenner, to get a picture of midget tossing and that. And these photos were coming through. We were laughing. This is just gold. So I said to them, "Did either of you, you know, shag the midget, the female one?" Obviously, the female one. And they went, "Well, no, but she's available." So I'm like, okay. I said, "Well, do you know what? Do us a favour. See if you can get a picture of her holding up a bit of paper saying, 'Spug, please come and fuck me,' or something similar to that. Something, you know, just funny." They said, "Leave it with us." A couple of days later, these photos start coming through. This little female midget saying, Spug, will you be my Willy Wonka? I'll be your Oompa Loompa. And can you come and fuck me? I want to see the python." We were laughing so much. Now, she obviously didn't realise what she was holding up because she's Thai. No way she'd have known. But it was funny. And, you know, we were just laughing about it. Anyway, this was in the January. And they came back a couple of weeks later, and I said, "Oh, we've got to do that for a laugh, like." But we were busy at the fishery. Obviously, during the winters, it's busiest time. When it came to August, 7 months later, I said to Lawrence, "Should we go to Chiang Mai, see if we can shag that midget?" He went, "Yeah, that's a good idea." I said, "It is, isn't it?" I said, "It's got to be funny, isn't it?" And he says, "Yeah, fuck it." He was single at the time, obviously. He said, "Yeah, let's." I said, "Well, I'm going in first because it's my idea." He said, "I don't fucking care." So anyway, we booked the flights and we got up to Chiang Mai, which is right up, like I said, 800 miles.
Yeah.
Just laughing all the way. Can't believe we're doing this. This is just stupid. We went out into Chiang Mai. We found this bar, Small World, and the little male midget was there with his Metallica T-shirt on, little heavy metal midget. We were laughing. So, "Well, we'll come back. We'll have a few beers. We'll come back tonight." So we came back later that night, and he was there, but the woman wasn't. So what's happened? She's got a boyfriend. She's living in Bangkok now. So, oh no. And I don't know, for people, you know, many blokes will say, "Oh, we don't know anything about it." But a lot of people know if you negotiate with a girl in Thailand to go and skip off with her, it's, do you want short time? Do you want long time? Short time is a trip to a hotel. You pay for 35 seconds in some people's cases. Sorry, you pay for a couple of hours, do what you got to do, come back. A long time is an all-night job, and they can cook you breakfast before they go off in the morning. I'd got in my head that I wanted to walk up to a Thai female midget and ask her how much for short time. Now, would that not be the funniest sentence ever said on planet Earth? And that's all I wanted to do. I didn't care if it didn't happen. I just wanted to say how much for short time to a midget. But she's gone. She's got a boyfriend. Our whole plan has fallen on its knees. So we're in the bar. We're playing pool. I managed to get a little video air guitar in with the heavy metal midget to Dire Straits, I think. That's on my YouTube channel. And anyway, so next thing I know, Lawrence is with some bird or whatever. And there wasn't many about. It's like, oh, it's going to be a blank night for me. And I see a girl looking at me opposite. I thought, oh, I don't know, I might have a chance here. So I sort of ambled over as coolly as it's possible for someone like me to amble over, which probably meant a trip somewhere. Got talking. There's 2 or 3 of them. I was there about half an hour, and Lawrence came up, the twonk, with his phone. He went, oh, I've got to get a picture of this. Smiles, we're giving it all that for the picture. Anyway, bearing in mind I'd had a bit of a failure, I thought, well, you know what, I might treat myself to a couple tonight. So I said, you tonight? Yeah. So the next thing I know, I'm holding a crate of beer on a 125cc motorbike with a bird on the front driving it, me in the middle of the crate of beer, and a bird behind me. How we ever fitted on there, I'll never know, but we did. We're going down the back streets of Chiang Mai. I haven't got a clue where I am, and I'm proper pissed by this point. Got into some seedy flat, and I'm thinking, well, I don't even know if I'll get it up, if I'm honest. And then I'm sitting down with this beer. These 2 take their dresses off. When they take their dresses off, the tits come off as well. They're lady boys. I'm like, no. Because the last thing I wanted was a proper spit roasting. So I'm like, no, I'm sorry, I didn't know. Now I realised why Lawrence wanted to take a picture, which is, this picture's in the book, so's the picture of the female midget and all that. I'm like, no. So I had to pay them as if I'd been with them to get me back to the hotel safely. Because I always take a card of the hotel in my pocket because I've been drunk in many countries. Get me there. And so one of them took me back. I paid them, which was a gutter. Went back to my room all bashful and upset. And I got up the next morning. Lawrence he's just on cloud nine. How'd you get on? I said, mate, they're lady boys. They said, well, you didn't know that. I said, I mean, look at the picture. It's blatantly obvious. But I was pissed. I've got no defence, just alcohol. So anyway, finish the story off, I said, I don't really fancy going out tonight now that the whole of the town knows I'd skipped off with 2 lady boys. It's only a small town. And he said, well, I got that bird's phone number from last night. I'll see if she's got a mate. I said, all right. And so he messaged her, yeah, I'll bring her. So we're sitting there at the end of the day, we went to the zoo and the tigers and all that shit. And I'm sitting there thinking, what is going to come in through this door? I mean, northern Thailand is known for inbreeding, cross-eyed, extra thumbs, wonky teeth. I'm thinking it's going to come in looking like Schmeagol, off Lord of the Rings. And there's a little on the door. So here we go. Honestly, on my mum's life, the most beautiful bird you've ever seen come in. She was a stripper. And I'm like, cha-ching, that'll do. And when we'd finished doing what we had to do, I said, you stay here tonight if you want. She said, no, I've got to get back to my boyfriend. Took her cash and went. Thailand in a story, I guess.
Yeah, Jesus. Would you go back, do you think?
Difficult one, that. Although I've lost a couple of stone in the last couple of years, being crammed in cattle class for 13 hours, and to do what? You're just going to go there, get drunk, and might end up pregnant, mightn't I? The way things have gone on the last trip. But he was great. I think he's done. I don't know. I never know what I'm doing other than work.
I fell for the place hard. I mean, I always went as a family man. I never got up to any shenanigans. I went just for fishing. And when I used to go, I'd do 2 weeks at Gillam's and hardly set foot outside. But
yeah,
when I first started going, it was like in the real early days before it really got publicised. And before it really got fish hard. And I think you can always look back with rose tinted glasses, but I did have some really special nights, early on, where I had the lake to myself. There was
Yeah,
nobody else on it, and it was quiet. And me and Gollock,
yeah,
the guide, there was just me and him sat on the whole lake, and you never really knew what was going to come out. And
yeah,
no, there wasn't really any patterns established, and you were using all your different skills, and there was clearly some enormous fish coming out. But those first two or three times that I went, and it wasn't busy, it was fucking amazing. I really
yeah,
well,
yeah,
I ended up going 7 times over the years,
yeah.
from my kids being super small to them, getting like quite big. And now Ethan's coming out with me to Spain, so my kids have grown up around fishing. But Gillam's was a very, very special place for all those years.
Oh, yeah, yeah, it is. But of course, now you got 16 to 18 anglers around there all day, every day. And just like every other lake on planet Earth, the fish are pressured. So they're not as easy to catch. I mean, you only had to look at some of the catches after COVID. People were absolutely caning the place,
Yeah,
but now it's slowed down. And the way it seemed to work was anglers would catch and catch consistently, holidaymakers not so well, which is, it was a strange dynamic because you've got these people who paid a lot of money to fish. They say, oh, just have one day there and we'll catch all these fish. Well, it's not like that. You've got to angle for them, but there's always a few people on the lake catching loads, and invariably they know what they're doing, and it's no surprise. Then you get some people who may want you to, not me, I wasn't a guide, cast in for them or whatever. It's like I said, any lake that's pressured is harder to catch them, but there's still a lot of fish caught out there.
we Stuart invited us one year to. It's when he used to close it down, and he invited us out to opening week, and we sat around the table at dinner, and everyone's telling fishing stories, and most people were good lads who he'd invited. You know what I mean? Because I think it was a special week for him. He invited people back that he knew and he got on with, and he knew that the guides would have an easy time because there was decent anglers around it. But there's one guy, he proceeded to tell everybody about all the fish that he'd caught, the records he'd broken. He'd fucking anything you'd done. If you'd done 10 fish, he'd done 11 fish, and all of his 11 fish would always be fucking bigger.
Met plenty of people like that.
And the lake opened up, and he spent 3 days blanking, and every peg was wrong. All the guys were wrong. There was every
Yeah,
fucking reason under the sun why he wasn't catching. And he sat in he got the peg that used to be called Cobblers because I'd spent so much time sat in it. And he was telling me how bad this swim was, that there was no fish in it. I'm like, well, all right, well, I'll jump in there tomorrow. You move one down. And it's when my dad came with me. And we went into our nang the next day and got absolutely fucking trolleyed. We went in just for like a sandwich, you know what I mean? Have a quick sandwich, have a beer, get out, go for a walk around. And we ended up having about 9 or 10 pints. And we got back, and I could barely stand up. But I knew exactly what was in the swim, where the fish sat. And I just got the spod rod out, marked it up because I knew where the fucking plateau was, just started banging it in, went onto the method feeder, and just started catching one after the other after the other. And I could see this guy in the next peg just keep looking down and looking down, and I just keep waving back, and I'm fucking wobbling about like this. And I ended up having 11 fish. All it's before they got massive, but they're all 60, 70, maybe 80 pound fish. And Stuart just walked up to the side of me and went, keep fucking hammering them. That guy's been fucking doing my head in all day. And I went, all right. And we just stood there having the best fucking laugh, and everyone's coming down having a bit because we're absolutely rinsing it. But it's only because we knew what to do in the right place at the right time.
yeah, yeah,
But
and that's very
I'd spent a
much.
lot of time there learning how to fish it. But he was God's gift to fishing. He was convinced that he was going to fucking rinse the place, and yeah. But I loved it. Loved my time there. All the guys are incredibly hard working. 40-degree heat, and they're up early. They finish last. And they're always, they're running between people's pegs day in and day out, and I
Yeah,
couldn't do
screw
it.
that for a living.
No, um, I commend. Were you there when Scott was there?
No.
He was one of the early guides, and when he first turned up, I think he'd be. If you're watching, sorry about this, mate. I don't mean to insult you. He turned up a little bit of a chunky monkey. By the time he'd done 3 months, he was absolutely ripped. Do you know what I mean? Because you don't feel like eating a lot. It's red hot every day, and you're running from one thing to another. And invariably, you saw all the guides turn up, and they'd get so lean within a short amount of time. And to be fair, some of the guys I think I've seen more than others, including Mr. Pash. I think I've seen his arse more times on social media than I've probably seen my own fucking arse in a mirror. He seemed to have an ability to go out, drink, and get his arse out wherever he was. But there you go. Again, Chris, if you're watching, hello, mate. So let's get back to the book. Again, I don't want to do too much of it, but I do know that you've got the triple C challenge in it.
The Triple Century Challenge.
Triple Century Challenge. What's that all about?
Any future girlfriends? Well, they won't be watching this. It doesn't really matter.
I would have thought so.
Well, I guess it's a sum up of my life, really, because, excuse me, I'm not a flat out fisherman. I don't flat out go to concerts, and I'm not the greatest looking chap in the world. But I was talking to Pecky, Daryl Peck, and funny enough, Adam Penning about the Triple Century Challenge. They said, we don't know anyone who's done it. We haven't done it. So what it is was to catch 100 UK 30s, go to 100 gigs, rock gigs all over the world, and 100 of the other.
Yeah.
And that's what you get when you're in the party scene and you're single most of your life. And, it was a case of, can we do 100 of each? And that would be where the final picture and the final page ended. And my story ends on the completion of the Triple Century Challenge. And that just turned out to be, girls went first years ago. Obviously, these days, looking like Penfold off Danger Mouse, being on Tinder, it doesn't work. So you can forget trying to get any challenges on that front now. Gigs were second, and the 100th UK 30 came this year, and that's the last picture, last page, end of the story.
Nice.
So that's what that was.
So if I had to say to you, you've got to give one of those up. So from here on in, there's either no more gigs, no more fishing, no more shagging. Which one are you giving up?
I think, bearing in mind I've got a stupid sense of humour, and most girls I speak to online block me immediately, and the fact that I'm not a good-looking dude, it would appear I've already given one up. I hasten to add, not that I give a fuck, I'm happily retired.
Favourite concert?
Well, couldn't answer that. I've been to some crackers, some epic maiden shows. First gig in China, got the Chinese T-shirt on now, which is purely coincidental, and that is coincidental. Queen at Nebworth, 86, Freddie's last gig. I was in the crowd in Donington 88, which is the Guns N' Roses Paradise City video at the end, where it's the crowd's in black and white. I was in that crowd when the lads got killed and that. Just loads. I can't tell you. AC/DC's, Metallica's, just a lot of maiden gigs. Vegas, China, Tokyo, all over. I could not answer that question.
Wow. It has to be
said,
said.
What's your favourite film?
Yeah, I was just going to say, when I saw you that day down at the Trent and Adrian was with you, I'm not a rock fan. I just thought he was one of your fishing mates, and I stood on the peg talking to him. I was like, he's a nice bloke. And then I came back talking to you, and he was like, yeah, it's Adrian from Iron Maiden. I'm like, fucking hell. Just completely unassuming, just no aura of, do you know I am? Just stood talking to him about barbel fishing. Lovely chap.
Yeah. I mean, we've fished quite a few times together now, and I've never, ever seen any of what you would conceive to be a stereotypical moody rock star. Not at all. He's a hairy-assed fisherman, same as the rest of us. He's funny. He's a good angler. I mean, you get a lot of these like celeb anglers, don't you? But he has got a very impressive list of personal bests, all caught by design. Not like us carpers who might reel in a £10 tench, go, look what I caught.
Yeah.
He caught a £10 tench, fishing for tench. £15 barbel, fishing for barbel. 4 or 5 £40 carp
Right.
to an £8 chub.
Wow.
All in England, let alone his foreign fishing. He knows what he's doing. And, you know, it's very, very good on the rivers as well. We went up the Trent and, you know, who better to take than someone who knows what they're doing. But he's just got a lovely way about him. He's got a great sense of humour. And I've never, when we don't talk about Maiden, that was one of the promises I made him. I mean, he might say something now and again. Of course, I'm all ears because I've followed him since I was 14. But he's just a nice fella. And people who have travelled the world and seen the things and the sights, they have a great, they're extremely interesting. They have this sort of knowledge. It broadens the mind, travel, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And he's got that, you know, aura about him. But, you know, I've said some stupid ass things in front of him and he just ignores, he just doesn't give a fuck. You know, even on that trip when you came down was the barbecue incident where I think after you'd been down for the day, that evening, we've got the barbecue on. I'm sort of having my vodka and now I'm on the wine. I bought them all glow in the dark mugs with skulls on and shit. They're all drinking out of it. It's Dean, Lawrence, Adrian. And, you know, we've had half the meat. Some of it's still cooking. And my rod. So I'm like, oh, I've got to run. And so everyone gets out of the way. I go diving out my bivvy and I've got a Fox Easy Dough. And it's got that flap at the bottom, isn't it, where the mozzie mesh goes in at the front. My foot catches it, and I just went bang, and I face planted on the barbecue, sent the meat flying, all the hot charcoals and that, ended up smouldering. I mean, Macy and the Twonk absolutely lost it. I mean, they're gone. Adrian's going, mate, Spug, you all right? You all right? And I'm like, oh. I got 2 rods, 6 pounders, great picture of Dean, me and Adrian. I'm holding it up. Luckily, Lawrence's steak went in the dirt and he never got to eat it. And it was, you know, Lawrence still reckons it was the greatest day of his life, seeing me in that state smouldering, literally. And the cup that I bought for Adrian was a glow-in-the-dark skull mug thing, wine glass, and a lump of charcoal went through the stem, so I had to buy another one at Tesco.
Have you been up to?
So, yeah, he is. Lovely fella. We've had some good fish as well. I've seen him catch £30, you know, brace of £35 plus mirrors in a night down Foxmere and that. Yeah, it's good. He's a nice fella.
Yeah. Same as I say, utterly unassuming. And if I'd have met him outside of me being with you and you saying, "Oh, that's Adrian," you'd never know. No, anybody would just meet him and go, "What a nice chap." But it's nice when he's no hero of mine, but it's nice to meet heroes or famous people and they're just normal people. You do meet some people that are really full of themselves.
No, I mean, I was nervous before we met because, you know, we all know I can be a plank at times. And I thought he's just going to fuck me off and think I can't deal with you. And I wouldn't say I changed my behaviour around him at all. I was just being me. And we just went and we had a laugh, you know. And
so did he know who you were through being a fisherman? Was he aware of you as a fishing celebrity?
Well, I'm not a fishing celebrity.
Do you know, that's why I went like that, because it's a bit of a wanky phrase, but do you know what I mean? You are a very well-known angler. I
was, you know, before the internet came along, I guess. I'm not so bothered about it these days. So he used to get Carp World every month. He was a monthly subscriber. So there was often, I mean, I did Mainline's What's Occurring and Ask the Experts for 8 years. So I was in there every month for 8 years. And then there'd be little clippets, like there was a fish I had out of Frimley and I took a picture of me bollock was hanging out. That got in the back. Little bits about me and Black Lizard. So I had been, I mean, I've got a folder like that of all the magazines I've been in. I've written in all of them, I think, all of them,
Right.
pretty much been on the front of most of them back in the day when I was really good looking. I mean, I had to get fat and ugly, give the local girls a rest. Believe that or not. So then when I did my first book, I sent 5 copies to the fan club because there's bits about Iron Maiden in there.
Yeah.
I sent it to the fan club and said, can you try and get these to the band members, please? Now, unbeknownst to me, Adrian didn't get his book. Bruce, the singer, picked his up. He went into the office in London and he picked it up. And when they were rehearsing for the Final Frontier tour, they're in a hotel in Paris or something. Adrian told me this afterwards. Bruce walked in his hotel room and went, "Here you go, mate, some Carp porn for you," and gave him Carp in Mad. And he read it. I found out through the chap who used to run the fan club that he had read it and he liked it. So I never put any contact details in the book. So please, I want to be your friend to any of them. I just thought, just there's the book. You can use it as firewood if you want. But Adrian, he found it funny. Like I say, he has got a wicked sense of humour, and there is some funny shit within all the books. And anyway, what happened was the lead singer used to charter a plane and fly it. He put 250 fans on, fly to a gig, you get to meet him, get your picture, he'd sign something. You might stay in a hotel or you might even come straight back after the gig. Well, I'd done one to Poland and the Czech Republic, and then we went out to Italy. This whole story is actually on, if you Google Spug Goes Fishing with Iron Maiden, this story comes up on the mainline website. So we've flown out to Italy and they're playing this old stately home that used to be Napoleon's house or something, big pillars everywhere and all architecture and shit. And the chap who used to run the fan club walked through, because he used to get AAA in that. He walked out the back and he found Adrian at an ornamental pond chucking in bits of bread for the carp. And he said, "Oh, what is it with you fishermen?" He said, "Just can't leave it alone, can you?" And Adrian laughed. And this chap went, he said, "Well, we got Spug on the plane." And Adrian said, "Have you?" So I'd actually like to meet him. I've read his book. It's funny. So they said, "Well, we'll go and see if we can find him." Well, they couldn't find me. In the crowd, I was probably sitting down eating about 15 beef burgers, looking at all these Italian bums in nice leather trousers, female, I hasten to add, just after that last story. And there were beautiful girls everywhere. I was eating burgers going, I'm having a lovely time. So we got on the coach to come home the next day because we stayed in a hotel the night. And Laz come out and Bruce had flown us out there. We got pictures and all that. And the chap said, "Oh, you missed out there. We come looking for you. Adrian wanted to meet you. Just say hello, thanks for the book." I said, "Oh, well, what do I do now then?" He said, "Tell you what, email me all your contact details. I'll pass them on to him. Either he'll get hold of you or he won't." Then a couple of weeks later, I was driving along the lorry, had a missed call on a private number. I thought, "Oh, it's the bank." I mean, they were after me at the time. I was, hadn't been the best customer in the world, should we put it that way. I thought, I'll swerve that. And then I'm driving along. I thought, could have been Adrian. No, it wouldn't have been. Anyway, the next day it rang again. I thought, right, I'll risk it. So I answered it and it was Adrian. And then we ended up going fishing. We've been a few times. That's some, great fishing trips. Up tent fishing at Barbara, barbel fishing on the Trent, carp fishing, zander fishing on Berry Hill. And they've all been good trips.
Nice.
So that was how it all came about.
Nice. No, good story, mate. So the book, I know do you self-publish the second and the third one, or is it just the third one?
I did, yeah. Very difficult thing to do. So I had to self-publish, well, both really. The way it worked out was you got the first one done with a publisher, and it went really well, sold out. And I believe it's now sometimes goes for £100. It's become quite collectible. Bit of a cult classic. We only printed 1,000 copies because I said, well, there's no point me printing 10,000 as I'm not a Herd, Lane or Peck. I'm not going to sell them, especially now I'm sort of off the radar a bit. Let's just do 1,000, see what happens. And then within 3-4 years, they're all gone and then they're going up in value all the time. So I thought when it came to do a second one, a mate of mine said, "Well, I can design and lay it out for you,
Right.
and you do it while you're in Thailand at Gillam's." Oh, all right. And I just didn't think about it. So I did it. He designed and laid it out. When I came back, it was pretty much ready. I phoned up the publisher. I said, "Right, we've got another book ready." They said, "We don't want it." I said, "What do you mean you don't want it?" They said, "Well, you've took away half our work. You've done the design and layout. That's half of the work." So we get like £2 a book handle. It's actually £3.50 a book handle in charge to send it out. It's not worth doing. So I'm like, "Oh, right, okay." So now a mate of mine's laid it out. I've written it. Nobody wants it. Nobody wants it. No publisher wants it because it's half the work and half their money's done. What are you going to do? And then a friend of mine, Rob Harrington, who was a customer at Gillam's, he was out at Gillam's at the time when this all happened. He said, "Well, how much do you need?" So I found out it was 10 grand to print 1,000 books. Without the 5 grand, which was my fault, design and layout, I quoted too much for that. Blah, blah, blah. He said, "Well, I'll tell you what, I'll lend it to you." I said, "Well, I don't want to be in debt. I'm in enough debt as it is." And he went, "I don't care." He said, "Look, mate, I've earned my money. I've worked hard. If I lose it, I lose it." He said, "I put it in your bank tomorrow." And he did. A bloke I'd known a week give me 10 grand because he
Wow.
loved the first book. He said, "You've got to get your second book out. You've got to do it. And I will help you." I'm like, "Well, thank you very much." So then I've got to make a website. So I come back, we're printing it, 1,000 copies. And it all went wrong, if I'm honest, because in between the first and the second, magazine sales and books drops, sales have gone like that. They just dropped. It's all YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, whatever it is. YouTube and all that took over. The magazines were shutting down. Now, without question, my time was in print. Like I said, I was in all the magazines. But I'm too ugly for you people to be filming and putting on YouTube. And, "Hey, this is Mainline Mike Spug." I go, "All right." I'm off the radar. I've had 2 years in Thailand as well, where I'm off the Carp radar, especially. And as soon as I left for Thailand, I stopped doing all the mainline stuff in the magazines. So I really was, what today's world's really fickle. Today's front page, tomorrow's chip wrapper, aren't you?
Yeah.
And I was definitely chip wrapper paper and some. And then not only that, so we've got it done. I've then had to build a website to order it from, and then obviously eBay and whatever. But I had no contacts. Whereas the publisher who sold the first one got all the contacts of everybody who bought the first one, bar the shows. So I had to go it alone. And it nearly crushed me because it was like, you're forever posting on Facebook, like I am with this one. You feel bad. People are you're regurgitating the same shit every week. But if you don't get it out there, I mean, the chap who ran the first company said to me, the worst thing you can ever do is write the best book ever and nobody knows about it, so they don't buy it. You've got to promote, and whatever. And it was real hard work, and it crushed me. It's why I'm not doing the shows with this one. If I sold 150 books, I wouldn't cover my costs for the show. And I'm never going to sell 150 books at a show. I've just got to keep dribbling it out there because, I learned with the last one, it's hard. It's harder to sell a book now than it ever was. Not if you're Lane, Hearn or Peck, but when you're a Spug, it is. And it's a specialist book.
Yeah.
It's a book where you've got to want to laugh. A lot of these people are also serious in carp fishing. And when you're telling a tale about going to shag a midget, I guess not everybody wants to hear that, do they? That's just fine. I'd rather do a little quirky cult classic than I would do a mainstream commercial. I never sold my arse to the commercial wheel in fishing. I've always been a bit of a loose cannon. I've done my own thing. I've had many offers in the past, join this company, and I said, no, I'm not interested. I've got friends at shops who give me friends and families discount, work for Mainline, do the catch reports and that, get free sweets, have done for years. I don't want to be in the fishing world, but the books, it was very satisfying to do and very rewarding. I haven't got kids, which is probably a good thing, especially for the kids. And they're what I've left on planet Earth. They're my legacy. You know, when we eventually blow the shit out of each other with nuclear bombs, and then 1,000 years later, the aliens come down and go, these fucking idiots have all killed themselves. One will say, oh, what's that? And they'll find a copy of Carp Mad. It'll still be here, you know. And, you know, all these Instagram anglers, you know, that we got these days, their memories will be gone. But my book will still be there, you know, and that's the legacy. And it was so important for me to leave something behind, because all of us, me and you, people watching this, all 7 of them, thanks for that, we could all be dust in 8 weeks, especially at our age. Cancer, car crashes, shit like that, we could all be gone, and it's there forever. And it, you know, it matters. And you know, someone got hold of me recently, said, I've just read your book, mate, because it tells the sad stuff as well.
Yeah.
It's not just efficient, happy stuff, sad stuff, crazy stuff, financial stuff, health issues. It's a book, it's a story. It's not just, well, I went there and I caught this and I caught that.
Yeah.
Oh, man, let's get. No. Different fish.
I can't get through those books. I've picked them up before and I've got halfway through and you end up going skip. It's great and good for them, and God bless them. There are some fucking phenomenal anglers out there, but it just leaves me a little bit cold.
I'd still rather be me.
Yeah, and I'd still rather be me. You know, I've not fucking, you know,
I mean, how many fish you got to catch to be an angler? If you can catch 330s, you can catch 10. If you can catch 10, you can catch 40. It's just how much time have you got? We all go to work.
Yeah, indeed. And that comes through in your books as well. The fact that you are just a normal working bloke who's trying to keep a roof above your head as well as going out and catching fish. And it's interesting what you're saying about you don't know how much time you've got left. And it's one of the reasons I wanted to do this. I started it back in COVID, ran it for, you know, a few months. The world opened up and, you know, I carried on with other things. But I've always kept all the facilities open because I thought at some stage I might want to dive back into it. And it's only when you've got people close to you who are popping the clogs. And I've lost 2 friends in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And it's fucking brief. You nearly died in a car crash years ago, didn't you?
Well, I wouldn't say I nearly died, but I did end up getting cut out by the fire brigade. And this story was in the second book. And I guess it's worth telling because most of my silly prick mates reckon it's hilarious and one of the greatest things that ever happened to me. I don't. So, got my notes here so I don't forget anything. That's another thing you do when you're old. So, when I smoked, I was working down in Essex at Co-op, delivering lorries to ungrateful shops all through London and Kent. And I had an abscess one day. So I went down to the dentist and he said, do you want to take it out? I thought, well, I've got a mouth like a burnt out fuse box anyway. You might as well rip another one out. I ain't going to look like Donny Osmond ever. So he took it out and I was lodging with my mate, Mark Dayton, Milo, down in Rayleigh in Essex at the time. So I was laying in bed the next day feeling a bit sorry for myself with a bit of a swollen face. And there's a little knock on the door. And it's his daughter, Alicia. She's 15. You know, I mean, all girls are crazy anyway, aren't they? But 15-year-old girls are particularly crazy. Possibly the craziest thing on planet Earth. Batshit crazy. Spug, can you take me to go see my boyfriend, please? Yeah, okay, I'll take you. So the door was locked, obviously, because I'm laying in bed watching, I don't know, Judge Judy or something, butt naked. So I jumped out of bed, chucked my trousers on, put on an Iron Maiden North American Tour T-shirt and my mainline bomber jacket. I got this limited edition blue bomber jacket all embroidered with mainline on. So I took her off, dropped her at her boyfriend's, and I'm driving back with my faces out here, and I see Tesco Express. I thought, well, I need some petrol for work the next day. I got in there, got some petrol. I'm paying for the petrol. They got bags of sweets, 3 for £1. I thought, ooh, chocolate limes, pear drops, I'll have some of them. So I've got in the car and I'm driving back down Rayleigh, I think it was Southend Road. Put one in, pear drop, crunched it, gone. I mean, in a nanosecond. Put another one in, crunched it, gone. I thought, fuck this, I'll put 3 in. So I put 3 in. When I crunched it, I fired 2 straight down my throat, and they stuck at the back of my throat. So I started choking. The next thing I know, everything's black, everything's silent, but I am awake. No noise, can't see anything, can't hear anything. And I'm slumped forward. Slowly, my hearing came back and I started to see light. Woke up, fighting for my breath. Can't remember if the sweets were still there. And all I could hear was this woman crying, going, oh my God, are you all right? Are you all right? And I sort of looked. She's sitting in the passenger seat crying her eyes out. Turned out she was behind me when the crash happened, and she'd come and got in my car, but I'd been knocked out for that long. She'd managed to come in and see if I was all right. The car had veered off the road into a concrete lamppost. I'd absolutely gone to the middle of the car. My face had bent the windscreen, and had all black eye and all blood down here. And the top of my head had broke the windscreen. I got an old Toyota. I don't know if the seatbelt worked. I don't know what happened. So the car's all smashed at the front. I could open the door, no problem, but it was all front end damage, and I'd done my face in, which didn't do any harm. So the paramedic turns up, and I hear him on the radio. Oh, I got 1 walking wounded. He'll be all right. She was in a bad state. She actually took off for shock as well. Then another paramedic comes along and says, nah, he's got extensive head injuries. We're cutting him out. He could have spinal this, spinal that. And I'm like, oh, mate. And I don't know why. I just never opened the door to get out. I just sat there, monged. Some people say he's a mong all the time, but that's another argument. I just sat there, just didn't know what was going on. So next thing I know, 3 police cars, 2 fire engines, 2 ambulances. One took her off. They've cut the roof of my car off, and they put me on this stretcher thing, put these 2 square blocks around my head and tape, and they wheeled me in the ambulance. And the bloke says, obviously the copper comes in. Well, I'm going to breathalyse you. Cheers, mate. As if I'd been drinking. Obviously, that was clear. And so I've got this mainline jacket on. He said, well, I'm going to have to cut that off and test your blood pressure. I said, you are not cutting that jacket off. There's 10 of them in the world. That is sacred to me. Okay, so he pushes it up my arm and he gets this, okay, right, you're off to A&E. So I'm off to A&E, and they wheel me into one of the cubicles in the A&E department, and I'm lying there. I'm still numb. I'm stunned. I don't know what's going on. And they went straight up my trousers, straight up my North American Iron Maiden T-shirt, and straight through my mainline bomber jacket, either side, pulled it off. This is where the story gets worse. Because now
You've not got to the worst bit yet.
Now I'm butt naked, right? Because I didn't have any boxer shorts on. I just chucked on my trousers. A few months before, I was speaking to Darryl Peck on the phone. Speak to him once every couple of years. We send each other a book when we bring a book out. Whatever. Come across him a few times over the years. Nice fella. And we were talking about session fishing in England in the summer. And, sweaty bollocks, heat rash, keeping yourself clean on the bank, etc. Well, Darryl had said, well, don't you veet your bollocks?
Get
rid of all your puke. Veet. The hair removal cream.
Oh,
Mrs. probably uses Veet. Yeah. Right. He says, well, what you got to do, mate, is veet your ball. Don't shave them. You should cut yourself. Veet all the hair off.
He's fucking winding you up, surely.
Shower it off, and then in the summer, when you're doing a session, just clean up with baby wipes every day. Put a bit of talc on. It works a treat. So I'm going to try that this year. So about a month before the car crash, I'd got this V. I'd done all my armpits. I'd done all my balls and my arse and everything. And I was completely hairless, right? Completely, like a baby. So here I am, lying in A&E with my head in a block, butt naked, nothing on top of me, no hair, nothing, and this little bent cock underneath my fat belly sitting there. I mean, if I could have got a lob on at any time in my life, I wished it had been then. Because people are walking past, they're just, all right, mate. They're looking at me, no, and I'm powerless to do anything. I mean, absolutely powerless. And I must have been there for 20, and they didn't pull the curtain at the front of the cubicle thing. And everyone's just looking at me. And not that I've got much dignity, but the 2 ounces that I had was going down and going down and going down. And then this nurse came in and she went, would you like a blanket? I mean, yes, please. At least cover me up. I must have looked like a pedo or something, whatever a pedo looks like. So anyway, a doctor walks in. He says, have you got any sensation in your back? I said, well, it feels all right. He said, have you got any numbness? I said, well, I don't know. I'm laying there with blocks on my head. He said, I'm going to have to put my thumb down your back, feeling if any discs are out, because we're expecting spinal injuries because of your crash. I'm looking, you need to tell me if you can feel everything, because if you can't and it's numb, you've got problems with your spinal cord, because this crash was quite strong. I said, oh, okay. So he rolls me over, still got this block on me, and he rolls me over. He says, right, I have to inform you, you're going to have to insert a digit into your anus. At this point, I lost it. I said, are you having a fucking laugh? I said, haven't I been through enough today? He said, I need to understand if you can feel, you've got feeling, otherwise you've got problems. I said, oh, come on, mate, you don't have to do that. I've had a bad enough day as it is. So bearing in mind, it was the day I found out that third-party insured cars cost the same as fully comp. So I was having to pay for the police recovery. I only buy 300 quid cars anyway. You know, I was fucked. So he said, no, I'm going to have to do it. And I thought, do you know what? Fuck you. Now I'm getting angry. And as he went down my back, as he stuck his finger up my arse, I tried to bite it with my arse as if I had teeth in it, tried to bite it off, just to spite him. Of course, it didn't do anything. And then I went off for an X-ray, and God knows if I've got anything permanent. I've got a bit of memory loss. Anyway, I went home with all bruised and, you know, battered. And I'll never forget, I phoned up Kev Knight from Mainline and said, mate, I've had a bad day. He's like, go on, what have you done this time, you fucking inbred? I said, I got my bum fingered by a doctor. I think it was his middle finger as well. It felt massive. That prick didn't ring up anyone and go, poor old Spug, he's been in a car crash, we might have to lend him some money, he's not got a car and all that. He phoned that he was thoroughly delighted that I got my arse fingered, and that's all he cared about. It was a bad day for British angling, I'll tell you.
Jesus
all because of pear drops. That one was in the second book.
Jesus Christ, mate, you're lucky.
I was, and I never did find out who that woman was. Might have got a sympathy shag, mightn't I? Bless her,
mate. The way you fucking the way your look was going on that day, you might have got fucking bent over. Yeah,
it's true. Yeah, it was funny. Poor old Alicia, and she never did last with a boyfriend. But Mark and his wife, I can't remember, Shell, they were really good that night. I did come home a battered little war hero, and they were brilliant. You know, it wasn't a great day. Just a completely out of the blue random occurrence. And perfect story for Carp in Mad, but not the sort of things I actually want to happen in my life.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah. It's fair to say that's a pretty bad fucking day. You've been with Mainline like forever. I can't even remember you even talking about another bait. Lots of people jump around from place to place. You've got to have been with them for 30 years?
Yeah, the T-shirt boys, they swap and change every week. We got back into fishing around 92. Obviously, I fished till I was 16, 17. Then it was beer, motorbikes and women.
Yeah.
Which, quite frankly, were more fun. And then we got back into it. And then I think we went on the boilies about 93, 94. And that all came through by speaking. The Dream Lakes and Lequia had just opened. And we'd phoned up, we were mad. I think we hadn't even caught an English 20, but we wanted to catch a French 50-pounder, and that was the way to do it, go to a commercial.
Yeah.
And then we got talking to Zen. He sorted us out some bait, and I just stayed with Mainline then, right up through until '99 when I got offered a job at Solar. And I was there 99, 2000, 2001. And then I came back to Norfolk and went straight back on Mainline. But I wrote Mainline a letter saying, look, I've got a job with Lockie, got to use this bait. I'm really happy with your bait. I don't want to not use your bait, but I can't not use his.
Yeah.
So I thanked them for everything. And I went on to Solar whilst I was at Solar, then back to Mainline. So other than the Solar times, it's 30 years.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fucking rarity. I mean, I not that, I had any affiliation with Nutrabaits, but I was on Nutrabaits for probably the same amount of time. I was using Big Fish Mix in the 90s, and that was the mainstay of my fishing for literally decades. And I still have Big Fish Mix now because I still think it works, even though that Bill and everyone else has, Bill and everyone else has moved on. But I still bank on it for certain waters. If you could choose one of their baits through the years, well, which one have you caught the most fish on? Which have you been most successful on? And if you had to point at one to take to a new water to catch your fish, which would you take? There's a carpy. Fucking hell, it's like turning into a proper carp podcast. That was actually a proper...
Yeah, what the fuck are you doing? Sort yourself out. More midgets, more midgets. Well, I mean, to be honest, I've never really struggled on any of their baits, but a pineapple bastard, you can't go far wrong with them, can you?
Yeah.
Pineapple high vis pop up if you need a pop up, or sort of yellowy wafter. But I love the Grange. I love the Pulse. I whacked Frimley on the Pulse. The Frimley had seen so much Pulse. It was like heroin to them.
Right.
And I had an opportunity to fish there, and it was great. Activate was great. The Cell. I mean, I'd done the catch reports for 8 years. And I'm still running their Twitter account at the moment, although I'm desperately trying to get off it because I've done so many catch reports in my life. I did Solars for 4 years, from 98 to 2001, then Mainlines for 2006, 2014, then Gillam's for 2 years. And now I've been running Twitter for Mainline for about 3 years. And I've got to say, as much as I adore Mainline and all the people involved, I've had enough. Been bug when I caught fish. Oh, it's drillage. But yeah, we used to do the. Let me just grab it. So I've got one here. I don't know if people remember this, but this was back in the late 90s. Remember Spug Sharper Carpers? Can you see that?
Yeah.
With the big lips and the eyes, that was the Solar bait write-up. And I did that. I've saved them all in my folder. Oh, that was the final one. That was before I retired. There's a shine on it in there, which is annoying. Spug's the Sharper Carper.
Nice.
That was when I had two-tone. That was the final one I'd done. But yeah, so bait write-ups. Oh, mate, give us a break.
So how did catching that fish change you or change your life? Was it I've caught it and you moved on with life, or did it actually change stuff for you?
Well, both really, because at the end of the day, a fish is a fish, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it was at the time, it was a big capture. It was the worst. Right, when I landed it, 2nd of June 2001, it was two-tone was 56.5 pounds. It was the biggest. It was the current record fish, although it just dropped down in weight from its 59.7 when it took the record. Mm. And it was the biggest fish in the country. It was the second biggest carp landed in England when it went in my net. And back in them days, the lads who fished for the big uns in England, your Herneys and all that, didn't go to France. But I'd already caught a 50 in France.
Yeah.
So it actually made me only the 4th British angler to get a 50 in England and in France.
Okay.
And you're going back to a time when there was only 4 or 5 50s in England, maybe couple of secret ones in the cons and the fisheries and stuff, Harrow, stuff like that. But the ones that we knew about, there was a handful. And it was really weird experience because I just went fishing. I'd fished there the week before. I'd been bang on the fish for 5 nights with them topping above me. I couldn't buy a bite. Come back on the Friday. Everyone's fishing the other side of the pond on a new wind. I'm looking to the bay where I knew there had been for 10 days because I'd had a week's holiday and I'd been on them. And before I got round there, I'd seen 3 show and then I thought they're still here. And I caught it. It was just normal fishing. I think I saw it poke its head out. At the time, I thought it was the friendly mirror, which is £37. But looking at it now, it was him or whatever it was. And I caught a fish. But the truth of it was, I mean, I wrote myself in the history books, whether you think I'm a prick or not, and you're entitled to think that, some of my behaviour, you can call me, you can use whatever adjective you like. I don't care. I went there, caught fish. It happened to be two-tone, and it happened to be the second biggest carp ever in a time that was such a golden era of fishing on that lake. You know, I spoke to Dave Woods about it. We all say Save with the famous 5, Malin and all that stuff. That's the best fishing England ever had for socials, catching big fish for the first time. The second best fishing was us lot on Conningbrooke, Jackson, Forward, Lane, Lockie, Terry had just fished on it, whatever. We're all down there. That was just under Save. So I'm there in its golden era. I've caught the big one, and it was, I mean, it was a dream come true, obviously, and it still makes me pinch myself today. But I got a lot of adulation, a lot of, oh, you're the man, you're the man. But it sat really badly with me because I'm not the man. I fished with some of the best anglers in England, and certainly there's other good anglers out there I might not fish with, but they're no better than what I have fished with. I have fished with, you know, over the years, and I know I'm not that man. And then everyone's telling me, you're the man, you're the man. And I'm like, inside, I'm like, you're not. You just went down, flicked a pop-up out on the edge of the weed, you're just angling, you know, and it felt really uncomfortable. I mean, don't get me wrong, I was delighted I caught it. Of course I was. But I'm not a hero. I'm an anti-hero. I fight the establishment more than I do suck up to it. I've always been like that. Like I said, a bit of a loose cannon. And I didn't want people to think I was the man. I mean, when we caught it, I was as pissed as a fart. And, you know, because there was a big drinking culture on Conningbrooke, and it never did night bites.
Right.
So we'd spend 3 hours getting the rods in, and let's get the barbie on. Let's see who can get cross-eyed first by drinking so much. And it's usually me. And the night the rod rattled off, it was at about 10 to midnight. I'd had a litre of red wine, 4 tins of John Smith's, and I'm starting to feel squiffy. And I said to Smudge, bless him, he's passed away now, cancer, and Lee Watson, I said, oh, I don't know about you boys, but I've had enough. And they went, yeah, mate, you're right. I said, I'll call it a day in a few minutes. 5 minutes later, and I said, oh, fuck, it's the last thing I want. So I grabbed me rod, something on the end going mental, and I'm like, oh, and I'm playing it. And Lee Watson puts the waders on, he wades out into the lake with the net in front of him. And I see this fish go in front of him, and I'm like, go on, son, get scooping. And they're all laughing. And then it's come from left to right in front of him again, just out of his range. I can see it. We had if you look at the old pictures, picture of Lee Watson with a big petzl, the round of the square battery pack on the back. He's got that on. He's gone past him. I'm like, oh, son, get scooping. He's like, he'd seen it. He knew what it was, but he knew, don't tell him. Because everybody thought it's going to be England's first 60 the next time it got caught after taking the record at 59.7. So he doesn't know that I haven't got England's first 60 on. So anyway, he then comes back, he goes in the net, and I'm like, hey! I think I've been on like 35 blank nights at that point, which is part of the course on Conningbrooke. He looks in the net, sees it, yeah, he's got it. Went, oh, you got a mirror, son? I went, friendly mirror, £38, that'll do me. A new personal best. He said, it ain't that one, mate, it's the big one. And I'm like, what? He said, it's the big one. I went, oh, fuck off, Lee. I said, friendly will do me. He said, Spug, I'm telling you, you've got the big one. And I dropped my rod and I said, I don't believe you. And he's in the lake. It's 12:30 at night. Bends round and there's just this little cod in there. It's enormous. Yeah, it was in. And it was a very strange experience. Obviously, it's the greatest thing that ever happened to me in fishing. But it was very odd. Like I said, getting all this, oh, you're the man, because I'm not the man, but I did catch that fish on my own terms, on a rig I made, on a pop-up I'd nicked out of Lee Jackson's rucksack. I was going out with his sister at the time. He used to make these little yellow pop-ups, which Solar ended up bringing out. It was Jacko Pops.
Right.
And they were amazing. And I'd nicked a thing because me and his sister were dating. And, it was a moment in time. It was history, and people remember it to this day. People still come up to me now and go, I remember when you caught that. And it was in all the comics and that, but it did. See, the thing about fishing is this. Some people, not so much these days, they think that, it's all internet now, Instagram anglers who are more worried about how many followers they've got than how many fish they put in their net, let's face it. But there was always a perception, if you're in the mags, you're another Terry Earn. But that's not the case, because there's many, many great anglers out there that I fished with that you never heard of. So when you buy a golf magazine or a Formula One magazine, if it's Tiger Woods or whoever it is now, or Michael Schumacher or Hamilton, they are the man. Yeah. But when you pick up a fishing mag, it could be because the magazines used to suck up to the advertisers so much, which I understand because they needed to get the cover costs down. I mean, I believe at one point Carp would have been 24 quid to buy if it didn't have the adverts in it, or 14 quid, whatever it was. They might ring up Aqua or Solar, say, look, we need someone from your camp to do some editorial stuff for us. You're paying for advertising. And there's an old granny in the workshop that goes, my boy Billy goes fishing, I'll use him. So you see Billy in the magazine, who the fuck's that? Because it's not a representation of the skills that are out there. And, I've been in the mags all over, but I always felt like a bit of a pretender because I know I've got a reasonable grasp of the basics and I can catch fish, but by no stretch of the imagination am I the man. And neither do I want to be the man. Let everybody else who thinks they are, let them do that. Let them do the how to tie a hook on shit. That's just not my bag.
Have you heard of imposter syndrome?
Is that what I am?
No. There is a psychological condition called imposter syndrome, where no matter how successful you are at something, no matter how good you are at something, you're in a situation and you look around and you think, well, I shouldn't be here for these reasons. And you tell yourself, and very, very successful people get it. They get to a situation where they're like, well, I shouldn't be here. They look around and they think everyone's better than them. And it is. In
answer to the question, no, I haven't heard of it. But the thing was, I was, it was like when I first hit the magazines in 1998, 26 years ago now, I was in them a lot for Liquid. And I did unlock the code at Liquid, definitely. I mean, when we made the Gauntlet Challenge VHS video, which is now on DVD, North versus South, this is in the year 2000. I was the captain of the Northern team. Lee Jackson was the captain of the Southern team. And it was 2 points for a 20, 4 for a 30, 6 for a 40, 15 for a 50, something like that. And we all 2 teams of 10, and it just says a points thing. And we won it. And that week, there was 200 fish landed between 20 people. I actually had 40 of them fish. And, I whacked it. I'd got the right swim. I'd got the right tactics. I knew just what to do at the Queen. And I'd been in all the magazines, supposed record hall and all this stuff. But in my heart of hearts, I love Liquid and I love all the people around it. it's not Cassine, is it? Don't get me wrong, it doesn't confess to be Cassine or the Orient or Lac de Deux, whatever. And I kind of felt you're getting all this attention for a commercial fishery lake. Go catch one from Cassine. Go get a 70 out of Orient. Like Daryl's done. I mean, that is proper. So that's where I got to. But then, so I learned to fish at the Quay under Tom's guidance, feeding the lead down and all that stuff. But it was in my heart of hearts. I knew I'd grown up reading Hutchie's books. It wasn't Cassine, it wasn't the Orient. But like in Leque's defence, it doesn't confess to be. It doesn't say, "Hey, we think we are." It's a coach trip, lovely food, great fishing. Come and have a holiday. It's not professing, but I was getting the adoration of being in the magazines and people making the presumption that I was Hearn-esque, and I knew I wasn't. That's what I'm saying. If those fish were Cassine fish and it was a haul like Daryl's out of Orient, maybe I'd have felt more comfortable with it. But then all of a sudden, I've caught two-tone from a lake with a reputation as being absolutely rock hard, where you can only beat Terry Hearn if you catch it. And this idiot's turned up and called it drunk. Fathom that.
Yeah, but you caught it. You caught it on your terms. You turned up, you cast the rod. It was your rig that you. Do you know what? You caught it.
Yeah, and to be fair, I knew the fish were there. Nobody else did. I'd fished it for a week. I was bang on the money with my casting. I fished it perfectly, and there have been times when I've had some major results where I have fished it perfectly. But I've had more failures than I've had successes by a long way. But over that period of years, by keep going and keep trying and keep having a go at them, every now and again you get a little red letter day. And then over the space 20, 30, 40 years, whatever it may be, you've got a few red letter days, and all of a sudden you've got your 100 UK 30s, your 6 Norfolk 40s, you've caught two, whatever it may be, because I've just kept going. And the greatest thing that will ever catch me fish is not a wonder rig, is making the effort to go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's time, without a shadow of a doubt.
It's time.
If you're there and the fish aren't feeding, there's nothing you can do. They won't eat.
No, and they might feed next week. And I know of people, they're playing the benefit system. We've got about 1,000 kids. They're on the gravy train and they're fishing 4 nights a week. But you know what? Good luck to you. I don't care. But if you think those fish, even if you're catching 40s every week, if you think those fish mean as much as people who work Monday to Friday might get 1 or 2 nights a month, if you think your fish mean what their fish don't, you're completely disillusioned, because they don't. And I guess that's what I represent in fishing, is your average working man who fished when he could. This year I've only done 20 nights,
right?
Which isn't that much, but I'll be busy with a book and a new job and whatever. Somehow I've managed 4 40s at right place, right time. But it's people being on the dole, living at home with mummy and all this stuff to catch fish. It ain't a bit of me. I pay my rent, I work hard, I pay my taxes, I fish when I can, and I cook awful chili con carnes. That's me, And it's, who wants to be a doler just to catch a fish? It's up to them. You live your life how you want to live, but don't tell me, hey, look at this fish I caught, when I know you're just grinding it out on the dole.
Mate, I think that's a good place to leave it. That's a fantastic sentiment. Believe it or not, we've done an hour and a half, and there's still a load more things for us to talk about, but I think we can do that another day. But I think you encapsulated very, very well what fishing means to you, and the reason why you've been successful. And I think, just to finish off as well, this you're saying you're not a Hearn and you're not a Lane, but they don't publicise the times that they don't catch. The times where you don't catch. And in your mind, you're looking at that going, well, I didn't catch them. But other anglers don't talk about the times when they don't catch. They don't talk about the 40 nights that they went without a fish. And I think just that fact alone, you've done 20 nights and you've done 4 40s this year.
Mm. I should really,
I
before we go, tell the story of the two £40 commons because it's
Go
quite
on,
poignant.
go on.
So, John Mulroney, Ucky, and Christian Price run a no publicity water a very long way away from here. Ucky, John Mulroney, we call him Ucky. It won't be long, and it's kind of sad and it's kind of happy. Me and Ucky met at a charity Fish with the Stars thing, if there is such a thing. Got off on the wrong foot, nobody's fault, and then we ended up falling in love with each other. And Ucky said, how many more 30s do you need for your triple century challenge? I said, about 12. He said, join my lake. I know it's a long way from you, but there's only a few 25 members. And if you fish during the week, you probably got it to yourself and, you can get something going. So anyway, cut a long story short, that book, those fish are in the book and I call it Eddie's Lake. Okay. And I got him and Christian agreed that I could fish their lake and that I could use the pictures in my book, although not put them on social media. Thank you very much. So I started fishing there. Christian came to see me. I'd met John Ucky, and he turned out he'd got the first copy of Carp Mad and he enjoyed it, and I gave him a copy of the third, and we was having a lovely time getting to talk to him on the phone regularly, blah, blah, blah. Got the book done, got it out there, and about 2 months ago, or 3 months ago now, where I was talking to Christian on the phone, we were going to an Almighty concert and that's not the God Squad, that's the rock band, in Cambridge at the end of November. And he said, Spug, because my favourite week of the year is the last week of October, first week of November. I think that's prime bite time. The fish weights are up and it's just prime. Yeah. I mean, you get Duffer's Fortnight in May, don't you? But you book that holiday from work and the sun's come out early and they're spawning, or it's still cold and they're not feeding, but guaranteed end of October through to January, prime time. He knew I was coming down because, like I said, it's too far away for me to fish regularly. So I use it like France, where I go down for a week and I put the bait in, try and catch them, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, I was speaking to Christian on the phone and he said, Spug, I really want you to get a 40 out of my lake. He said, you've done your 130s now, by the time you get there at the end of October, November, there'll be 8 40s in there. Now, during the summer, after they've spawned, that goes down to 3. And then throughout the summer, they slowly build up again. And now before they spawn, you've got about 8 40s to go at. And I said, yeah. He said, I want you to get that 40. I said, okay, fine. I'm going to go for it. Fuck me. 10 days later, we lost Christian to undiagnosed heart disease. And we were all absolutely gutted. Absolute salt of the earth person that we all loved, yeah. Only young, 50. Ucky, everyone was really gutted. And I thought, I can't go. I just can't go. I don't even know if I ever want to go there again. They'd help me. It was all about the book, the new book. Anyway, I thought about it and I thought, with his passion for his lakes and how much he just gave everything to these lakes that he runs, he would want me to go and try and catch that 40. He wanted me to do that. And I thought, I've got to do it for him in his honour. Which is why I want to tell the story, because it's fresh. It's only 2 months ago.
You're right.
And I phoned up Ucky. I said, I've changed my mind, mate. I'm coming. He said, right. I said, and I've never said this in my life. You've got the gist of me now, everyone. I said, I'm going to come down and catch a 40 in honour of Christian. I'm going to do it for him because he told me he wanted me to get it done. And he's like, okay. So I've driven the 3 to 4 hours to get there and I'm setting up. Now, years ago at the brook, Lee Jackson always used to pay the lake to bring him luck. So I've done that ever since. So I always put in 20p because if you put in 50p or £1, you're being an arrogant prick with your money. So just be a little humble payment. So I'm setting up. This lad James is there. I said, right, I'm paying the lake. I'm putting in 40p. I'm paying the lake because I'm going to catch a 40 for Christian. And he went, "Oh, nice one, mate." So anyway, he went off and he told me spots. He said, because I've got one out of 20 wraps straight ahead. He go, one left, 21. Righto. So anyway, the wind is hacking and I struggle baiting up the spots, but I get them done in the end. And in the end, my left-hand rod, where the wind's coming in, I checked it because it's all silkweed there. You have to fish, like I said, the pop-up on top of the silkweed. It was clear about 3 rod lengths out. So I polted out about 150 boardies, chucked a pineapple bastard on a Ronnie on top of that. Put them out long, 24 hours blank. Now, if you get them going in there, you can get 5 fish in 24 hours on one rod. But I'm 24 hours blanking. I think, oh, fucking hell. And then the 21 rat rod goes, get it in the net. Oh, that's a good one. 40 pound common, 40 pound two. I'm like, oh, I've done it for Christian. I've done it for Christian. Happy days. So I phoned Dookie. I've got one, mate. I've got one. I've done it in his honour and this stuff. So I've done my self takes, whatever, put it back. 2 hours later, that left-hand rod that I couldn't be asked to fish long, where I polted the boardies, that's gone off. And I've looked in the net, and it's a fish that's in the book at 35 pound. I know it's 40 pound because someone had caught it before. Big round thing, which we now call Christian's Common, is in the net. It's another 40 pound common. Fuck off, no way. Pulled it out. Weighed it, 40 pound, 10 ounces. So I've rung Hookie, mate, I've got another 4 years. I've braced 40 pound commons on this trip. The only trip in my life I've gone, I'm going to catch a 40. And then the left-hand rod went again with a 24, 2 or 3 days. This is all over 5 days. I got a 26. And then on the last day, that long rod's gone again. Kick, 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 kick. Reeled it in. I've looked. I thought that's a big fish. It was a 40 pound mirror. So I've had 3 40s in 5 nights, and it was all about timing because all of them fish are 30 pound in the summer, and they'd all just gone over 40. And obviously, I dedicate that to Christian and the memory of Christian, and his memory will live on forever because he's got mates and friends down there who all going to miss him, and it was a loss. But just the whole thing where, you know, like I said, he was going to go at some point with his heart disease. It was undiagnosed. But to then go back and say, I'm going to do it for him, that was a wacky, you know, it was an amazing and sad story at the same time. So, you know, it was done in his honour. And I'm still, it's only 8 weeks ago. I'm still numb now trying to put it all together. You know, so that was for you, Christian. If you're looking down, I mentioned your name on a podcast.
That's an amazing
50 quid
story.
off next year's subscription, please.
Nice.
So, yeah, that's it. So just before we finally go, if people do want the book, and, you know, you might think he's a prick, I never buy a book, do it. Even if I sell them all, I won't make any money. It's cost me 14 grand to do it, because that's how expensive it is to make 600 copies. I drive about in a 500 quid car where the windows don't work. So that shows you how stupid I am. But if I sell them all, I break even. But they're on eBay, or you can get them through my website, www.mikespugredfern.com. And we're also doing a deal on the last remaining second book, Carp Mad Free, where you can get them both for 40 quid. There's 30 of them left now. So after all the pain and misery, we're just about there. So,
wow. And that's important.
I would say
as well.
for great Christmas people, but quite frankly, I don't give a fuck whether you do, whether you don't. Just stay healthy and happy. That's what you need to worry about, not mince pies.
Yeah, indeed. I think that's important to mention, because a lot of people look at self-publicised books and they're not cheap, but by the same means, it's a huge cost and a huge risk for everybody who does it. And knowing you as I know you, I know you're not doing it for the money.
No, I'm not doing it for the money. I'm doing it for my legacy and the small amount of people who do enjoy the books and having a laugh. And you can say you've done something different. You took a risk. You had the bollocks to write some stupid stuff to make people laugh, but it's all true. And it's, like I said, I don't want these stories in my life anymore. Peace and quiet, peace and love, man. It's all good. But I have had a load. I mean, there's a story of someone falling on a barbecue, 7 weeks in hospital, 3rd-degree burns, suicide attempts. the bloke getting murdered behind us in the first book at West Warwick, the Turkish drug dealer, allegedly drug dealer, got shot and put the gunshots woke me up. Just down the towpath from us, there's police everywhere. Why me? I don't know. But if you think I'm doing it for the money, you got it all wrong. This book has cost 14 grand to make, and I ain't never had any money. I cashed in a company pension to do this, one I paid in 2 years ago, and it was worth about, I don't know, £100 a month if I get to 67. What's that going to be? Packet of Iron Brew and some Durex?
Yeah.
But it was enough to get me out of debt and pay for the book. And the little bit that's left, I've tucked into savings. So when Bridget, my car, eventually explodes, I get another one. And that's it. And if I get the money back, I don't even care if I don't get it all back. I mean, no rush to sell it. You know, it's there's so many costs involved. Every book that goes out, £3.50 a book handling charge. You have to pay storage because I'm not sending them out. I can't. I'm too busy. I'm up at 4:15 in the morning, sit down 7 at night. You know, driving lorries, feeding chickens, being the working man, and it just is what it is. But it's there if you want to have a laugh. You know, you can tap me up from a website or whatever, and there are some funny stories, and we're just having a laugh and sticking our finger up to all the woke crap that goes on.
That's a topic for another day. That
Don't get me on that.
We really could get into that because that is a passion project of mine. Don't
say that, you hurt my feelings.
I'm sorry. I'll go on Twitter and I'll apologise to everybody that I've offended. So Christmas is looming. If somebody wanted a book before Christmas for somebody that they care about, when's the last that they should be reaching out to you?
Good question, because I found that out yesterday. We're shutting down on the last day of dispatch is Friday the 20th of December, and then I'm going to probably delist them till the 2nd of January because I don't have the books. The publisher, the printer, Bill, he's got them. He's sending them out.
Cool, good stuff. All right.
You know, again,
so the week before, sort of 13th, 14th, 15th, really starting to get up against it if you want one.
We'll dispatch on the 20th, and they're coming there pretty quick. So you know, if they'd like to wait, if not, wait till the New Year. Wait till Valentine's Day. It's the perfect gift to get your bird frothing at the gash.
Jesus, can you imagine buying it for your missus? You'll love this.
You'll love this. Look at this fat twat.
Right, on that bombshell, mate, thanks for your time. I've really enjoyed that. I'll see you soon, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate. Bye. Right, let me stop the recording.